So on my channel, we're quite familiar with the criminally disturbed. I've made videos on movies and TV shows that revolve around some pretty awful human beings. Characters like Dexter Morgan, Walter White, Tony Soprano, etc. And through my journey with these character shows and films, I've had requests from some of you wonderful people to take a look at another awful human being, Dr. Hannibal Lecter. And actually, despite my love for horrors, thrillers, and crime dramas, I'd never really fully sat down and watched all of the Hannibal films besides Silence of the Lambs a long time ago. And I know based on the genre of content I'm in, and the type of content I myself consume, that's likely very surprising. Until about a week ago when I rewatched Silence of the Lambs again as an adult, and I was fully fledged blown away. Silence of the Lambs follows FBI agent in training Clarice Starling as she delves deeper and deeper into the case of Buffalo Bill, with the help of Dr. Hannibal Lecter. The film was released on the 14th of February 1991 and was directed by Jonathan Demme, rest in peace. And it was written by Ted Talley. Silence of the Lamb is Demme's most renowned film, and for good reason. It showed the critics that horror films could be taken very seriously at the Academy, becoming the one and only ever horror film to win Best Picture at the Oscars, and being one of 3 films ever to sweep the Big Five for Best Picture, Director, Actor, Actress, and Screenplay. The fantastic performances and incredible pacing and storytelling all come together to create something truly remarkable. Like I just mentioned, the biggest thing that makes this film as good as it is the fantastic performances by Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal, Jodie Foster as Clarice, Ted Levine as Buffalo Bill, and literally everyone else in this film. That's extremely impressive, because with a film like this, that type of characters it includes, it would be incredibly easy for almost all of them to come off really corny, cheesy, and really jarring. I mean, Buffalo Bill especially already has some scenes, well, more like one scene, that's already a bit much. But a character as deranged and outlandish as that could have been a real recipe for disaster if portrayed poorly. And that goes for the character of Hannibal Lecter as well. But Anthony Hopkins delivers this cold, terrifying stunner of a job and is able to convey such evil and danger and intensity despite spending the majority of the film behind glass or bars. It was done so masterfully, and you can see how much passion and love and care Anthony Hopkins put into this role. When he first read it, he initially thought it was a children's story, but as he read the script and realized it wasn't, he became more and more drawn to it, and reportedly even loved the role so much that whenever theaters near his area would play the film, he would even go and play lighthearted jokes on moviegoers at scary scenes of the film. Every time Hopkins was on screen, it was pure gold. Even something as simple as improvising using a southern accent in the scene where Hannibal mocks Clarice. I know that's not really a crazy thing, but it actually bothered Jodie Foster, so the reaction she gave was genuine. And while I can gush all day long about how good Anthony Hopkins was as Hannibal, I do want to talk about Jodie Foster as Clarice. She's a complicated and vulnerable character, fighting an uphill battle as a woman in her field at the time, while also going after a serial killer that only targets women. Every scene she was in was fantastic, but in specific when she's telling her story about the Lambs and why she ran away from the ranch, that was one of the most well-acted scenes in the entire film. Everyone in this thing played their roles perfectly, and that could have only been possible because of the tremendous writing and screenplay. The writing in this thing is damn near perfect. Everything about this just works, as simple as that. Not too many movies can truly capture that lightning in a bottle, where it feels like all of the elements work so seamlessly together to produce something special that has lived on for decades and will always be a pillar in the genre. Something where everyone involved has a passion for the project and sees it through to a perfect conclusion. Speaking of that conclusion, I want to talk about the entire ending sequence. Between Hannibal's escape from the law and Clarice tracking down Buffalo Bill, we had some incredible, tense moments, and we get to see the real genius of Hannibal Lecter outsmarting the police in a smart but grotesque way, the relentlessness of Clarice in saving Catherine, and the depravity of Buffalo Bill in literally every aspect. It all comes to a head and ends in a very satisfying way. And while I know the sequels weren't up to par, I don't think absolutely anything could take away from how good this was. And that's saying something because I'm not usually a fan of sequels. See Joker 2, for example. Usually sequels can never measure up to the originals, except in very odd cases like The Dark Knight or T2. And while the sequels to this film, or in some cases prequel films, may not have been up to par, this film stands the test of time on its own. There were so many distinct camera shots and interesting creative choices that accentuated the feeling of unease, particularly once again referring to the LAMBS speech with Clarice and Hannibal. The close-up shots of Hannibal's face really make you feel like he's deep in Clarice's head at this point, and this is all done with the exceptional camera work. This is one of the very few films, like I said before, that just fires on all cylinders and delivers every way it can, and has quickly risen to a top spot on my all-time film list after this rewatch. The character of Hannibal Lecter is one I'm going to be spending a lot more time with on this channel, because I do want to cover the rest of the films, the books, and the TV show. In a similar vein to what I've been doing with Dexter over the course of my channel, Dr. Lecter has such an interesting mind, and there is so much at play that going through the different iterations and identities of the character is going to be an absolute blast, and I'm really excited to do more. But until then, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next week for part 5 of my Dexter book series with more on the way. Thank you.